My name is Chris Worm. I'm the team leader from Lansing, Wawakusta office, and I'd like to introduce.
Hello, my name is Leanne.
Hello, my name is Leanne Schaefer, and I'm also a membership specialist here in Lansing. And I am here with you at Camp Wakusta here in Grand Ledge, Michigan. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, 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 because we all know, and that's why we named this paper, because what do we do with all this paper? Well, tonight we're going to talk about it, and we're going to take you like from the very beginning when you start your new troop or start the new year, and we're going to complete it at the very end. So we just wanted to make sure, sit back, relax. We're going to have a great time. Please be sure if you want to, you can ask questions in the chat, or we're going to have time at the end of the program that will be open to answer some questions. But the first thing that I would like to ask you is maybe you can let us know in the chat room, what form do you have the most trouble with at gshom? What gives you a hard time? So maybe we can help you out through that as we're going along. So we do need paper. We know that. We don't have everything on a computer and paperless, but we're working on it, and we're going to be glad to do that. So we're going to get started, and thank you for joining us. So the very first form that we are going to be talking about is our ACH form. And we also want to talk about, oh, sorry, I'm mistaken. We did this lovely little graph that Leanne's going to be showing us and talking to us about of where we're starting up and where we're going to end tonight. And I apologize, Leanne, you go for it.
No problem, Chris. Thanks. All right. So in this form, you'll see at the top left-hand corner, that's the starting up point. So that is when if you are here as a new troop or troop leader, or at the beginning of the new membership year, which starts officially October 1st, you would need to have these forms that are up top here. And this is just kind of the flow, generally speaking, around the membership calendar year. So after those startup forms, you see your family meeting forms for your first family meeting, the financial assistance forms that would be available for your girls. We're going to speak about additional money earning and some of the ins and outs of that. And then below, on the far left corner, you'll see the trip activity forms. So those are the forms that are required in order to go on a trip or an activity, do a special activity that is outside of your regular meeting time. And then we're moving right through the membership year into June 1st with an annual financial report. And then we'll talk about honor troop applications as well as the disbandment form. So this is just a quick reference to kind of see, especially if you are a new leader or if you're just kind of wanting to get an idea of, the bird's eye view, this is what you can reference. Thanks, Chris.
One of the things that I wanted to say is I think we're going to go ahead and we will send this out to all the service unit managers and the leaders. So they've got a little detailed thing of what they should do and what time of year. So I think it would be very helpful to all of you. And thank you, Leanne, for coming up with that. So starting the presentation tonight is we're going to talk about the very first forms that when you come in the door to be a leader is your authorization to open up a troop bank account. You will receive that from one of your membership specialists. It will be given to you. You will go to the bank. You will make sure that you get it all filled out with the bank, and then it'll come back to us. We will go ahead and we will sign the form. The form that is up right now is called the ACH, which it stands for Automated Clearinghouse. And this is where the payments are coming in for credits for you or debits for you. And in order to facilitate our payments from troop to GSHOM, like when you're out doing product sales, treats and reads, or cookies, of course, GSHOM has to come in and do a payment process. So with this, we have authorization to go through and go into your bank account. We will automatically take the payment out, and what the balance is usually your profit. So we make it nice and easy for you. You don't have to come to the office. You don't have to stand in line with a check or a debit card, and we've made it just as easy as we possibly can for you. So those are your first two forms to get set up a bank account for GSHOM. Take it away, Leanne.
All right. So funny. Moving into the next piece. So once you've got your troops set up and you've got.
Leanne, you're on mute.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. So once you have your bank account started and your troop started, the first thing that happens every year is your troop family meeting. So that's the time when, if there's new girls in or your troop is brand new, you would have your parents and the families and caregivers of your girls at that meeting. And these are the forms that you would need to distribute to those families in order to have all of the most important information with regard to leading the girls in the new part of the year. So here on the website, we're going to kind of take you through so you can see where these forms are located. We do have hyperlinks within the slides, but we just wanted to make sure that you were able to see these, the way to get to these. So the first thing would be, thank you very much, Allie, forms, yes. And so down here, this is gshom.org under forms for troops. You'll see a whole bunch. So the first one being the health history. So of course, safety is number one here at Girl Scouts. And this form is so important to be updated every single year. And that is because, of course, girls, even if you've had a girl with you for 5 years, right, she may have developed a new allergy, or she may have a new thing that we need to be aware of, right? And if you have a very large troop, that might take a lot of legwork, right, to contact every single person to say, hey, you know, what's changed from the form I had from a couple of years ago? So it's important to have this all up to date. So it shows allergies, and if there's some kind of special health concern that the girl has or has newly developed, then you know, your co-leader knows, and anyone, especially like on a trip or someone who is a troop committee member that maybe isn't always with the girls, if they don't know that information or have it committed to memory, they're able to access these forms and you know, ensure that they're giving the support that that girl needs if she has something, you know, additional going on. And of course, if you're a new troop leader, this is very important to have so that you're aware of, right, like if there is an allergy, if there is a medication that the girl should have with her at all times. So that is the health history form. And as I said, be sure to have that updated every year with the beginning of the membership year. Awesome. And then the release form. All of these forms that we're going to go through that are hyperlinked, they are all underneath that same spot that we were showing you on the website. So here in the girl release, you'll see that it gives the girl's name, and it gives approved folks that would be the person to speak to about the girl. Like, let's say there's something going on at the meeting, right? You may need to contact a caregiver, and maybe that first person is not available. So then you try the second person. If there's something, you know, going on that the family needs to be aware of. Of course, if you need to contact the family members or caregivers to get them involved, right? Maybe you're looking for another person to help out with the troop. You have this form. You can reach out to somebody within the girl's family to ask, you know, would you be willing or would you be interested in helping us with, you know, facilitating snack possibly? I mean, it couldn't hurt, right? We always want to bring in any and all adults that we can that are and appropriate to encourage them to get involved. And that's just one example of how this could be a helpful form. Also, there is a section at the bottom. So who should the girl not be released to? There may be somebody in the family that is not appropriate for the girl to be released to at the troop meeting, and that's indicated on this form. So then at the meeting time, if somebody shows up that is not listed on the girl's form and you've never seen this person before, you have the information of who to call and who the girl shouldn't be released to. So oftentimes this part will be blank. There won't be somebody that a family member is super concerned about, coming to pick up the girl, but it's just very useful again for safety to be aware of. And so that's why that is also a very important form that should be filled out and updated every year. And then we're moving on to the parent permission. We have a question in the chat box. So can the health history form be completed electronically? Is it able to be saved electronically? It is a fillable form, Tara. However, I'm not sure if you're asking if it can be submitted into something within the website. Oh, I see, Tony. Thank you.
Well, I was thinking being able to save it into a file on my own, just so I have record electronically with me. If, let's say, I had the forms with me and they got damaged, at least I'd have a electronic, or a saved document. Okay.
Yes, you can scan that in and do that. That would be an excellent idea to hang on to. Just make sure that when you go on a trip or anything that you are taking all these forms with you, so that, you actually have a paper piece. So maybe something happens and you can't check your electronic form.
Okay.
Does that help? Does that
Yeah.
answer your question?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, I believe that you can put these forms into your volunteer toolkit through your MyGS. And Tony's saying that she scans them in and then sends them via email to herself and her coworkers. That's great. That's a great way to keep everyone on the same page and to have the page in case the dog eats it. Thank you, Tony. All right. So here are the parent permission forms. You'll see it's talking about activities and the date. So this is if you're going to do something that's outside of your regular troop. I'm sorry, am I echoing? Can anyone hear me echoing? Rachel or Brenna?
I hear you okay.
You're
Okay,
doing just
thank
fine.
you. Thank you. I'm hearing some feedback in my headphones. Thank you. Anyway, so this parent permission form is showing you some different things related to really if you're doing something that's an activity outside of your regular meeting location or your regular meeting time. If it's deviating from your regular schedule, then you would need to have these forms given to a parent so that they can consent. And so that also, there's that communication piece of we're doing this on such and such date. And if there's a cost associated, it's all here. And as you can see on the screen, she is in good physical condition at present. I will make sure that she does not attend if she is ill, for example. Those are things that are on this form. And this is like a permission slip that a kiddo would bring home from school to do something, like I said, that would be outside of the regular meeting time and location. Then our last one is a product permission form. And so on this form, it is the acknowledgement and agreement from the family or guardian or parent, about conduct at a Treats and Reads booth or with regard to a Treats and Reads program, as well as cookie program. So it is what the girl and the family it will agree to abide by so that we are following the Girl Scout promise and law. And, they understand the expectations that we have surrounding these different aspects of our product sales and product program. And so, yep, you can see here for Girl Scouts, I will. So that's something that the parent should go through with the girl. They should discuss this with the girl, and the adults should be reading this too, right? So once they've signed this, then if there's any confusion, we can always go back to this form and reference the things that are here so that we can remind folks that, when you went through this form and you signed it, and I'll acknowledge that you had, understood it And let's go back over it so that we can refresh and remember how to be and what to do when we're at a booth or involved in doing things with our product program. All right. Is there any questions here I think I see some. Aaron asked if parents are coming to the event, do they need to fill out permission form? So if the parent is well, I'm not going to go into that scenario. I would think that if it's a parent who's coming to the event, especially if they are not registered as a troop committee member or a parent with a background check, then they absolutely should be filling out that permission form, because we may or may not know, especially if it's a new girl or if you're a new troop leader and you don't know the families of your group. We want to make sure that they understand some of these expectations and also that they understand what's associated with the activity, whether it's at a different location or whether there's a cost associated. It's important that this paperwork is all consistently given so that really you have a leg to stand on if there's somebody saying, we didn't know that X, Y, and Z was happening. Of course, if the parents there, they would know, but it's just to have it in writing with their signature to have and see that they have acknowledged that they understand what's entailed with that activity or that trip.
Thank you, Leanne. So you'll hear a little bit more about that on going down the road. The only thing that I wanted to totally express that all these forms that are talked about at your first family meeting, this should be a family meeting that you're having. And this doesn't matter if you're a brand new leader coming in or if you've been a leader for 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is. Every year annually, as Leanne had suggested to you, and we totally stress this, that they fill out these health history forms, the release forms, all of that every year, so that nothing has changed, because you as leaders are responsible for this girl. So you don't know if 1 year she's okay and maybe next year she has a peanut allergy. We just don't know. So please make sure that you do these annually as long as you're a leader. And that's very, very important. If you are not getting the adults registered, even if they're driving a car in a trip, and we'll talk about this later, if they're not registered, I'm a little bit nervous about that, because I just think it's important that they have a background check done. And we will talk to that when we talk about the driving guidelines. So any other questions on that? So one of the things, the very first thing is I'm going to talk to you about financial assistance. We never know, especially with this COVID year, you might have been working all the way up to that, and then bang, all of a sudden, unfortunately, maybe you lost your job, maybe you got laid off, that sort of thing. So, thank goodness for Girl Scouts Heart of Michigan, because we never want to see a girl go without. One of the things that I want to talk to you about is the very first form, which is financial assistance request for girls' uniform, the insignia, and their program books. It's going to be so important for them to have this. I mean, we're going to want the girls to at least have their numbers and, have their pins and have them get a handbook. And, unfortunately, if you can't afford that, GSHOM will go ahead and get you set up for that. And of course, we have some guidelines that we have to go by, and it's all filled out on this form. As you see, they ask how many adults are in the household, how many children under 18 there are, and your income. We do not want anything to happen to leave a girl out of Girl Scouts. That's the main thing. This will then come in to your membership specialist, which I will look over to as being the team leader, and we'll decide. You will then receive a letter from us saying what you have achieved from this. And most of the time, you can usually get the sash and the insignia tab and the numbers and things like that, and handbooks. So please don't, if you know of a family that might need some help and maybe they're too embarrassed to even talk to you about it, go up privately and talk to them. Just say, hey, I know you're laid off now, and if you're not, we want your girl to attend. We want our girls to all look alike, so none look anything different than the rest. So please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Chris, I'm not sure if you mentioned this already, so I'm sorry if I missed it, but in addition to what you were saying with that form, I think it's a great idea to have it available, especially if you don't know or you don't know them very well. Then they have it in hand, so they can utilize it if they don't feel comfortable having that conversation with you as the troop leader. I just want to fill it out. Does that make sense, Chris? Or did I say that? I don't know if I was redundant there or not, but I just wanted to add that. And you're muted right now, Chris, just so you know.
I want to add to that I know personally when my daughter was a Daisy, if that form wouldn't have been in the stuff right off the bat, I wouldn't have reached out for it. I was too embarrassed, things like that. I wouldn't be a leader now because my daughter would have not been able to do it because registration fees, the vest, things like that were a little bit too much for us at that time. And if those forms were not already in there, I know I wouldn't have asked for them.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that's all what we're here for. We are here for the girls, all the leaders, all the parents, all the Girl Scout staff here. We are together with this and helping the best girls that we possibly can. And so we just want to make sure that you reiterate. And thank you so much for your story, because it could happen to any of us at any time. So keep it on you for one of your meetings. Maybe you're going to want to hand this out, and when you're talking about uniforms and that sort of thing. I have been at some of my meetings that maybe the person is a little bit afraid to fill out the form by themselves. Maybe it's too much for them to fill out the form. And I've actually seen leaders sit down and with them after the meeting's over with them, and it's just those two, and they have filled out the form together. So that is totally appropriate to do. So if a parent can't come in and pick up the things for financial assistance, you can absolutely bring the letter in, or the leader can say, I've gotten permission from the parents to go ahead and pick up the information or the materials for this girl. So we also allow that. So please never think if they don't have the transportation means to get to a store, we can also do that. So, and thanks again for sharing. The next form that I'd like to bring out is the financial assistance form request for program fees. Isn't this fantastic? I just want to say I'm so excited that GSHOM has this capability of offering financial help for our program fees and our events, and use this form to request financial aid for council sponsored events. It can be completed by the parents with the help of a troop leader at any time. Fill it in, bring it in, and again, we don't want any girl to go without. And if you don't know, or suggest it to your people, hey, we want to go to the Jubilee and that sort of thing that's coming up. So, have this form available in case you all want to go as a troop, and maybe you don't have the troop funds right now, but, and see if they need some help, and just set the forms around or give them to everybody. And that way people aren't pointed out. The last form for financial assistance that I want to talk about is our overnight camp registration form. What better way to get our girls outside and get those computers down? And I know I have family friends that are like this from the time they get out of school and all of that. We need to get our kids outside. Tests have been done that they perform well, they sleep better, so they're going to do better in school. Their appetites are healthy and they're getting great food. And this is fantastic for any time that you want to do a 2-week day camp or 1 week overnight camp. And I can't think of a better camp to come to than GSHOM. So try and talk about that and utilize our camps. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Chris, there is a direct question here in the chat box, and it is that about a $5 deposit for the program assistance form.
Yes, there is a
What you
$5,
speak about.
there is a $5 deposit for that. You're absolutely right. Whoever asked that question, I appreciate you doing that. It must accompany the request. So I do appreciate you bringing that to my attention, because I failed to talk about that. So, but we need to have that in with a request. So thank you.
All right, so now we are on to additional money earning. I'm just making sure I'm not missing a question here. Sorry about that. All right, so additional money earning. So for an additional money earning application or to be considered for this, troops must participate in both treats and reads as well as cookies. So both product program seasons. And so that would be for brownies and older that would be able to be a part of or have an opportunity to do an additional money earning application and activity. And so this is the form, and it would be filled out and submitted to your membership specialist for approval. Just want to make sure that I'm covering some of my notes here on this. In addition to one of the terms of doing additional money earning being participating and agreeing to do both of our awesome treats and reads and cookie program sales, the other aspect to consider is that additional money earning activities should not occur during our initial sales period for treats and reads or cookies. So when you get that, well, you may have already gotten it actually in the folder, or if you were here last night on our original kickoff session, we discussed some of the dates and you saw a calendar, and that will be in the source. And I believe that those materials are also going to be sent out, and they'll be on our website as well, of course. So you can see when those timeframes are for the initial order taking periods for both treats and cookies. During those times, like I said, these additional money earning activities would not be approved or should not happen. If that makes sense. Hopefully it does. And so, yeah, that's all pretty clear cut here on this form about what the agreement is. And, you know, you'd just be explaining what it is that you're looking to do. And then your membership specialist would contact you to either maybe clarify and ask some questions if they're not clear with some of what you've indicated here on the form. And they'll let you know if, you know, it's endorsed and that it's approved or if it's not approved. And then you can also, in addition to the membership specialist, you can contact really you can send this form to your service unit manager. Here on the form, it says area manager, same thing, service unit manager or area manager, and they would be able to go through it with you as well. So if you have questions or, you know, things that you're not really sure about here on this form, they can help you, and so can I or another membership specialist that you work with in your area. And so, like I said, just reiterating, this is something that is available for Girl Scout brownies and older who have agreed and are participating in treats and reads and cookie sales.
Thank you so much, Leanne. That's so important to remember that, you know, our cookie program and our treats and read program, you know, teaches our girls so much. You know, we hear so many stories about, you know, they can't talk or they're worried about it and that sort of thing. But by the time they get done, they're just having a great time. And so as long as there's brownies on up, you can do another troop earning. So back to our troop activity forms. So I want to talk to you about what better way to do some exciting trips than with the girls the same year that the girls are in. For the whole year, they've sold treats and reads product. We've also done the cookie program, and with the profits, what do we want to do? Well, with our girl-led program, of course, you want to sit down and talk to them about, girls, where would you like to go? What would you like to do with your profits? What can we afford? Where can we go? So one of the things that we recommend at GSHOM is that you do a trip planning home study guide. Now, what this is you go out and there's just given you all kinds of details of how to go ahead and do your trip. There might be a little test at the end of it, but we just wanted to make sure that you would be more comfortable taking a trip with your girls with this trip planning home study. But then to go on to our fantastic trip that we want to go on, and maybe it's just a movie and a pizza party, because girls all have fun with that. So our troop trip and activity application form that we're going to be putting up right now, we're going to use this form when a troop does an activity that's not on their regular routine. Also, like if the troop plans to go maybe to Chicago to see the fish aquarium or something like that, you will need a troop trip form to do this. We are asking that this form be submitted at least 4 weeks prior to your trip. That is super, super important that you do. And it must be submitted. We just want to make sure that you know that. And please check your safety activity checkpoints and your volunteer essentials for your trip and activity planning. So you should talk to your service unit manager about all the trips and activity that you're taking, and if it's over 50 miles one way and outside the troop's regular scheduled meeting time. Also, one of the things that we want to talk about, and this form is 2 pages, so it gives you quite a lot of emergency contact numbers, adult leadership, how are you going to go? What type of transportation are you going to have? So are you going to have adult moms driving the cars and things like that? If you are, heavens to Betsy, we want to do a background check on those ladies, because we really wouldn't want something to happen to the girls if somebody came up and maybe had a DIY on their background check or something like that. We want to make sure the girls are safe. You're responsible as leaders, and we are responsible as GSHOM to make sure those girls are safe at all times. And of course, our leaders too. So one of the things, make sure that you check the trip planning checklist. You're going to want a participant list, who's coming. We'd also like to see a troop budget of all of that. You're going to need a first aid person that's first aid certified, and we would like you to please send in the first aid certification. I mean, I know that there's a place here that you can put down those dates that you're in, but we actually physically have to see the form. So a detailed trip itinerary would be awesome, as given in the emergency context. Now, also, some of the things that we talk about is what type of insurance are we going to need? So let's talk about that a little bit. Our troop camping and overnight trip activity on a non-GSHOM facilities only. Of course, we know we have to have the parent remission form, the troop activity application, but additional insurance, if it's exceeding 2 nights, or non-registered girls will be attending, you will need a Plan 2 or 3E. So those are different things that on our troop trip requirements guide for troops, that it physically tells you what type of form that you need to fill out. Extended trips of more than 4 nights, non-GSHOM. Well, you're going to also need a Plan 2 or 3. And I know that when you go out and see the insurance form, you'll see maybe a 3P that's out there. Well, that's kind of like for our international trips. Basically, that's what I can say about that. But you want to make sure that our insurance is very cheap. I think the Plan 2 is like 11 cents. That's all you have to pay per person, that sort of thing. But when you make out your check, I believe it says on the form to make it out to Mutual of Omaha or something like that. But you are physically going to make the check out to GSHOM, because what we will do is we will cash your check, we will send it in, And we might have several checks at the same time that we're going to be sending, and GSHOM will send one check in and you'll be totally covered. And that's one of the reasons why we need it 4 weeks ahead of time, is because we need that time to make sure that you are covered. The next thing that I want to talk about is the driver and privately owned vehicle statements. It's very important that all people who drive privately and own their vehicles must have a Michigan driver's license. So it's very, very important that you do that. Give this form to any adult volunteer that's going to be driving and have them read it, and with them transporting the girls. The form sets clear expectations for a volunteer troop during the whole event. So please make sure that they fill this out. Make sure that you keep this on file with you. It also gives you the guidelines. Thank you on that.
Chris, we have a question in the chat box, and the question is regarding the insurance. Can they pay with debit and credit card? Is it accurate that they can call our regional office and make that payment over the phone through our registers at our store?
I'm so glad. I am so thrilled that you asked that question. Yeah, because a lot of our leaders right now, since GSHOM has gone ahead and let us have debit cards, of course, absolutely. You will call our office. You will give us all the numbers, the expiration date, the code on the back, and we can go ahead and we can process that just like we would a check. So thank you so much, because I failed to talk about that and I meant to. So I really appreciate the help. There's a lot of information going on here tonight. So thank you. Next.
All right, so we are on to our favorite time of the year. We're not there yet, right? It's down the road, but it's annual financial report time. So these annual financial reports are due June 1st, and the last couple of years, or the last couple of seasons that this has been due, the deadlines have been extended. So if you're like me, you may be a little bit hazy about when they're normally supposed to be due in normal times, or times that are a little less hectic. So it is June 1st that these financial reports should be turned in. And thank you very much, Allie, for pulling it up. So this is the detailed cash report. And the first thing sorry, I'm echoing a little bit. So anyways, the first thing I wanted to make sure to address, and that is that just because this report is due on June 1st, I highly encourage keeping receipts or keeping this record up to date throughout the year. You can do this through Volunteer Toolkit, and then the other folks in your troop are able to look at this, and they are able to see what is the troop spending money on and what income is coming in. So there's transparency, and that the girls can also see what's going on, especially for older girl troops. So this is a great way to stay organized throughout the year. Just update it, update it every couple of weeks if you've got a treasurer, or maybe once a month, or, a few times throughout the year, not maybe at the very end of the year. I think it's safe to say that I might actually wait till June 1st, because I am quite a procrastinator, but I do think that it might make it a little easier at the end of the year when you have your receipts all together and you have all of this detailed right here. So it's just ready to be submitted. In addition to this, you would want to also submit with this, this detailed cash report a bank statement. Tony, you are saying that you're hearing through Chris's video. Uh-oh. Can you hear me any better now, Tony? Hopefully. Yeah, okay, great. Anyways, so like I was saying, this detailed cash report, it would be submitted by June 1st along with the bank statement. And that would go in through, we've been doing, help me again, Chris, is it troop financial reports at gshom.org. That would be if it's not going directly through Volunteer Toolkit, but really the best thing to do is to utilize the Volunteer Toolkit in order to submit Yeah.
financial reports at gshom.org. If you don't put it through VTK.
Jennifer, I see your comment here in the chat that in years past, are you saying that the VTK hasn't let you update the cash report throughout the year? Or are you referring to the spreadsheet? The VTK hasn't allowed you to update it throughout the year. Okay. I'm not sure if there's somebody else here on the call that could speak to that. I'm wondering if there was a glitch at one point that was not allowing you to do it.
So we'll go ahead and we can help you with that. We'll be giving you a buzz. I think it's very important that you guys keep this first screen open all year round, because that way you're not scrambling and pulling receipts out or losing receipts or whatever. We would prefer that you do it that way, but you know, I know, like myself, I'm a procrastinator too, so it could happen. So, but we will help you with that VTK problem. And Leanne, did you capture who that was?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
I did.
great.
I'm writing it down right now.
We'll get with you.
Looks like we've got another message coming in. Thank you, Connie. So if you push submit in VTK, then you are I think maybe it's saying no longer, we're supposed to say no longer able to add anything else. So once it's been submitted through VTK, that's all she wrote. No longer, okay. All right, so Tony also added, they update the forms in May, just small tweaks, so I typically have to copy, paste, and tweak. And Connie's saying you can add it, but do not submit until you're done. Thank you for adding that, Connie. So you can add to your report, but just don't submit it, because then you won't be able to edit the things that you know, any additional expenses or income. All right, thank you for everything that everyone is sharing here in the chat box. It's really great. We love to see the dialogue and also the questions. We don't want to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff that's not helpful for you all. So thank you so much for sharing, and also for your advice and your feedback too. That's really great to see. Anyways, yeah, you know what, Chris, take it away. I think I've got everything for finance reports, and I know that there's a lot more. It can be a little extra about it, so just contact your membership specialist down the road.
You bet.
Or Connie Moore, and we'll help you out with your finance report. If you're having a hard time or you're just feeling like, oh, it's overwhelming, reach out to us. We'd love to help you and work through it with you.
Okay, everybody, we're going to go through Honor Troop and Honor Troop Plus. The Honor Troop Plus awards were established by GSHOM to recognize troops that make Girl Scouts an exceptional experience, and making the girls themselves realize how exciting Girl Scouts actually is. Apart as role models, this form encompasses everything that you should be doing throughout the whole membership year and activities. This form must be in by September the 30th of every year. If you follow this form, you will see like troop basics. So it's going to kind of help you, like the troop has 2 registered appointed leaders. That's what we need. So that's one. Annual paperwork was turned in on time. On June the 1st, troop participated in treats and reads. So it's just sort of like, you know, touch and base with you. What did you do for community service events? You know, it's perfect to go through this to say, oh yeah, I should have done a community, or am I visible in the community itself? Did I go out and plant flowers at a church that needed some flowers around? That's fantastic to do. Make sure the visibility is awesome. I know that the St. John's Mint Festival was this weekend, and the Girl Scout troops actually made a huge float and the girls were walking around the float and on the float. It was fantastic. So that visibility is so important. You know, your troop took part in one of the following special events. Did you do something for World Thinking Day? I know some service units do that. Did a troop have a family parent activity with the girls? When do we don't do an activity with the girls? So it's really, really important, this forum, more than ever. We would love to see a whole lot more coming through, because it's important for those girls. And the Honor Troop Plus Award directions is just a little bit more additional than what the Honor Troop is. Maybe your troop got a sponsor. Maybe a church is letting you meet at their building for free, you know, things like that. So, or maybe 50% of the family went ahead and contributed to the Sister to Sister Fund. So, you know, it's just different things like that. I know we're running short on time here. So if you've got any questions, go out, pull this form off of the GSHOM website, and we'll go ahead and help you with it if you've got any questions. Leanne?
All right.
Leanne, you're muted.
Thank you. I just realized. All right, so this is the last part, and this would be, so this form would be for someone or a troop that either is ending Girl Scouts because they're graduating as seniors, well, ambassadors, but 12th grade Girl Scouts, right? So the troop account and the troop is done and completed, or in the unfortunate scenario that a troop is not continuing and they're not going to make it through 12th grade, which we would hate to see. We really would hate to see it. And so this is the process and the checklist that would be utilized in the event that you are disbanding your troop. So with the disbandment, we got a question here. What about the waiver form needed for pandemic activities this year?
What did she say?
Oh, Cynthia, we'll get to your question after this disbandment. I'm going to write down just so that we don't miss it. All right, so there, as you can see here on the form, you'll see that there is something that says leader and leader. So both leaders' names, the reason for disbanding, and then you would be wanting to contact your service unit manager and your membership specialist as soon as you know that this is the way things are looking, or this is what needs to happen or is happening within your troop. And there's quite a few to go through. It is not just close the bank account and let your membership specialist know we're done, right? We need to make sure that we are contacting the families, and we're certain that the status of the girl is that she, you know, what her status is. You know, does she want to continue with another troop? Does she want to do an alternate pathway like being a Juliet? Does she want to be a member so she can participate with our council programs, even if there is not a troop that you know, is continue, or I should say, a troop that has the other girls that she was doing Girl Scouts with, right? She may still want to do Girl Scouts, and we want to make sure that we can connect her with another troop if there's one available, or start a new troop that includes her. And we also want to make sure that we are speaking with everyone. And when I say we, I mean I as a membership specialist, as well as you, and especially if that's not taking place, we'll be contacting families to find out what they're thinking about in terms of their talents and their passions for leading the troop. So in the event that you and your leader, your co-leader, are not allowed, or not able to continue with this troop, we will do everything we can to ensure that girls can stay in Girl Scouts if they want to. And we want to know for sure, right? Is it the girls' wish to continue? And if it is, we do whatever we can to make it so that she can continue with the troop, or a new troop, excuse me, or this troop. Of course, we would rather, I'm sure as a leader, you'd rather maybe not have to go through a whole bunch of additional paperwork. So if we can find a leader or an adult who's willing to step up, then that's absolutely what we would do. So this is very detailed, and it drills on a very detailed level all the steps you would want to take in order to successfully and accurately close out and complete your troop or disband your troop. So there's things about troop funds, and there's things about supplies, and it says submit the following items to your membership specialist within 10 business days of the final troop meeting. So this is due within 10 days. That's not a month, that's not 6 months, that's not a year or two. It is 10 days after your last troop meeting. We need that. And it's because we need to honor the efforts of the girls and make sure that that money is allocated to the right place. So if a girl is continuing, we want to make sure that we know who's continuing, who's not, what their status is, and where all of these supplies and funds should go. Connie, I hope my microphone is doing a little better here. But this is the form, and again, this is on our website, and you can reference it, as well as all the other forms you've shown here.
So I know that you had a lot of questions during this, and we want to thank you so much. I want to thank all the information that is going in. I didn't see too much of what I had asked right off the bat of what forms do have the most of you have trouble with, but that's okay if you're able to do it all, but we're always here for you. You do know that much, and we'll be glad to help you. I know your service unit director will be glad to help you, or any other leaders that you know of. So if there's any, is there any other question? I think there was one about a COVID form. There is a COVID form that has not done any, we have not done any changes with that. I would wait till closer to when you're going to do your family meeting. I know that our communications department and our marketing department will be going in and making updates to that COVID form. And so I would kind of hold off for that, but it's a good idea to have that with you too, and have them sign away on it. So I would make sure that you do that closer to your family meeting. Thank you. That was a great question. So other than that, I know we went a little bit over, and I'm sorry for that. We hope that you have a great evening. We're so thrilled that you came and spent time with us tonight, and we enjoyed having you on. Good night, everybody.